The objective of today's paddle is to complete the loop inside Halfway Lake Provincial Park. This requires passage through 6 lakes and 5 portages. I propose to follow this loop in a clockwise direction, starting in Halfway Lake and paddling south to the 300-meter portage into Bailey Lake. After paddling the length of Bailey Lake, I would encounter the 520-meter portage into Lodge Lake. This was the first of the 3 interior portages whose condition is unknown. If impassable, I would then paddle back across Bailey Lake and then into Halfway Lake and return. Assuming I get into Lodge Lake, I would then paddle up into Moosemuck Lake to the north end, where there's supposed to be a 620-meter portage into Two Narrows Lake. Following that would be a short 180-meter path into Benny Lake, and then back along into Halfway Lake, completing the loop. Logically, the 180-meter portage may well be in place, especially if the portage to Benny Lake is passable. Thus, the major concern lies with the portage between Bailey and Two Narrows Lake, and we shall see. The concern in such a paddle is that while the loop distance might only be 15 to 18 kilometers, if one of the portages near the end is impassable, the only way home then is to retreat, making for a very long day. So my plan was to first inspect the Halfway Lake Benny Lake portage, and then I could go south fully expecting to get into Bailey Lake, and after that I would have to see, but at least I would know the circumstances of my final portage. Well, good morning, everybody. It's May 24th, 2025, and finally a day where it's not been raining. I've been here for this day 5, and the last 2 days have been steady rain and pretty cold, like 8 or 9 C, so I didn't really feel like sitting in a boat getting soaked, so we'll try it today. Behind me is Halfway Lake, and somewhere at the back is a portage, and hopefully somewhere over here, where did my hand go? That way, sort of. So there's hopefully a loop back in there. The question is are these portages in any kind of condition? The map of the park shows the south one is, and other maps show the other ones are as well. Now, we'll have to see. There's other portages in the backcountry that we need to get around, and it's a big if today whether that's possible. I'm also, we'll just do the full 360 here, headed also hopefully over here. There's a bridge onto the highway, and there's another part of Halfway Lake I wanted to explore as well. So one way or the other, hopefully we get a nice good day on the water. It's maybe 9, 8 C, hopefully going to 14. And we got a bit of a wind out of the northwest, maybe 15 an hour, but shouldn't be too impossible to manage. So we'll see you on the water. It's amazing how many boulders and chunks of rock are in this place, in the forest, and I mean, some are the size of trucks, some the size of cars, some even the size of houses. It's truly amazing. So we're making reasonably good time. It's cool out here, but not too bad, and hopefully it'll warm up a little bit. The skies behind me are supposedly getting better, not worse. Three dots. And so we're heading to the Benny Lake portage, if it exists, and we'll pull up there if we can find it and walk it and see what kind of shape it's in, whether that's a good idea, and then from there we'll go south. But it'll tell me whether or not I can use it at the end of the day if I am able to make the loop around. The portage to the south is shorter, and it is marked, so I expect it to be there. But the lake to the south is actually very pretty, and so in its own sense, it's worth a look. So we'll see how that all goes as we get there. So I'm in the cove here, and from about 500 meters away on my monocle I was able to see a portage sign. So that's good news. My suspicion is that I've done absolutely nothing for it, since the park itself doesn't have it on the map. But we'll just have to see how bad things are. I don't have a saw with me and not really motivated to do all that today, but if we can get around it okay, it's not too bad. I forget how long this is, but my head says 300 or 400 meters. So we'll see what we got. So this is Benny Lake, and my intention today is to come from over my left shoulder there, this shoulder anyway, whatever, and from the other direction. So I was just checking this portage to see if it was viable. It looks pretty good, so we'll see if the other ones marry up or not. We'll find out later. Okay, back in the boat, and we got 680 meters odd to the Bailey Lake portage, which was signed, so that should be there, and that's a pretty lake. So we're going to go in there. We'll go to the back end, see if we can find the portage into the next lake. If it's not there, or it's not passable or whatever, then we can do a nice tour in Bailey and come back out again. Hopefully though we get to do the loop, and we'll see what happens. Around 2007, there was a fire that came through the park at the south end here. So where you see all the birches, that was all burned. You can see a few trees. You can see a few trees left over of the taller kinds that made it through. It's pretty grim. You can really see it across the highway too. That's quite a spectacle to watch all that happen. And I see our next portage down here. Let's see if we can pick that up. So you got a little sign right in the middle there. That's a lot of zoom here for the motion, but we'll see what happens. This is right in the middle of the burn here. You can see this is 2007, so 18 years ago. So it's grown up a bit. But pretty stark. It must have been quite a fire. So this is the first time that I'm portaging with the kayak paddle. I got the camera mounts, I got my workstation, I've got my wooden paddle, I've got the jugs, and then my lunch and basic stuff. And what I'm hoping to do when it's not as heavy like this is to be able to portage in one shot. So that's the plan here, is how to pack it. I don't want the electronics to get broken banging around on something. So that's sort of the tricky part. And at the same time, I don't want to take it apart so much that I have to start all over again every time. So we just have to see, and I'll let you know how it goes. Okay, here we go. Let's go about 300 meters, which isn't that big a deal, and most of the surface is fine. Just this couple of areas where they were flooded by the recent rain, which is hardly a surprise. Detour is right here. Big, huge pond. And that's a girl. Better than I thought it would. So we don't know yet for a while if we're coming back this way or if we're going to go around through Benny, which is why we scouted that, because you're a fair ways in then. You have to turn around. It makes for a long day. So we'll see. I put the paddles and the life jacket behind me because then my arm can rest on the seat and it balances the canoe without me having to do anything. And it's better to pull down slightly. Oops, we caught something on the front than try to raise it. That'll wear you out pretty quick. So far this is a system that I've used for years. The only thing different today is the second half of the kayak paddle. So I normally don't scout portages, but that's usually because I'm in a civilized park. But when they said that they really didn't know, I didn't want to be halfway around and find out that that was a bad idea. So I don't know why I hike with trekking poles all the time, and I don't know why I don't seem to miss them when I'm portaging. I don't know if it's the weight of the canoe or just what the arithmetic is on that, but I find even in this stuff with all the rocks and everything, I just pick my way through it. The main point too is don't get too far ahead of what you're planning to do, because the next step is the most important one. If you trip on something and fall, hurt yourself, hurt your canoe, you have a problem. And it's an avoidable one, of course. That's the point, right? Things can happen, but we don't want to have ones. We want to avoid the dumb stuff. So if I see something cool, I'll just stop and look at it and then continue. Another water here. This is trickier to go around, but so far it's been pretty good. Let's see if we can make this getting too wet. Some rocks underneath this stuff, so it's not too soggy, which is nice given what it could be. And that, folks, is pretty much it. Here we are. That's about 100 or so meters, I guess. I don't know what this thing is. And a pretty little waterfall rapid. And there we are. So this is the last carry. On the map it'll show 3 carries. One was a scout, and then I've decided to carry things separately just because I don't want to wipe out. I guess if I have a really easy portage, which I don't think is going to happen today, I could try that. But we're doing pretty well. On our way. Hello, and thank you for watching this video. It is a pleasure to share my adventures with all of you. To help achieve my goal of at least 1,000 subscribers, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe to Hiking with Henri and click on the like button for this video. It is completely free and would be of great help to me. Thank you very much. Somehow the fire came from over here, jumped the lake. So it must have been a pretty good wind to blow the embers across something this big. Remarkable. Well, Bailey Lake looked interesting on the map, and it certainly is in person. Of course, what we're getting right now are these beautiful shades of green. You've got the dark green from the conifers, black, jack, spruce, and of course the white pines and so on. And then you've got the birches, which are still in their spring light green. Pretty nice. Didn't fill the water jugs for this lake. Just wanted to see how it would go because the pack has some stuff in it, and so far it's tracking reasonably well. But then again, we're not fighting too much of a wind yet, so that's a win. So I don't have to do that. Usually you have to fill them in the canoe, and it's a bit of a a juggling act because when you pull them out of the water, they weigh about 33 pounds, and so you got to make sure you don't make a mistake. What a great backcountry campsite from the other side of the lake. I mean, it's a little bit lousy water access, but what a view. You see the trees to my left here, and they're all around now. This is what the forest would have looked like before the fire. That must have been something else. To have all of that get destroyed in a relatively short period of time by the fire back there 18 years ago. It gives you a real contrast of the devastated areas. They're coming back, but that's going to take some time. And this here, amazing. Only way you could ever cross this country like this is in a canoe or a kayak. Not counting, helicopter or something. What a spectacular way to do this. Thank you, First Nations, for a wonderful piece of technology. What a way to do this. Shallow, but just enough water to make it here. The islands have got the fire too, so I'm sure there must have been enough wind, probably caused by the fire, that the embers from the shore just simply blew over and set the tops on fire and destroyed those islands too. And it's you can see the height of those white pines, I guess, or red pines, or So I've got myself to the other end of Halfway Lake and trying to get into this portage, but we're kind of shallow here, so we'll have to see what the big stick can do to get us into through the muck here and into where the portage is supposed to begin, if it even exists. There's a sign, but that doesn't mean much, so it's easy to put a sign up. so we'll have to see what else is possible here. We need to get close enough that we don't get our feet wet if possible. All right, we're grounded here. Let's see if we can go a little further. Later. All right, we'll try something else here. I really don't see myself wading through mud to try and get to the portage. There's so many brambles here, this is not really accessible per se. So let's see how this goes, if we can get through there or not. So let's try and find out. This will go. Looks like it's a little deeper over here, but not much. Okay, here we go. So we're back floating again, which is always nice. Okay, so right here is where the portage is supposed to start. Now that sign is about the only thing left of this portage. And you go in there, there's been absolutely no maintenance for quite a while, years. Big trees down everywhere. The path does come along here. You can see the treadway a little bit, which remains fairly well in these types of forests, but it's impassable. And even if I had my little saw, that's not going to solve this problem. This portage is 800 meters long and 2,500 feet or so, and to hack my way through all that is not going to happen today. It's also this bog mat here, and this is pretty soggy, and there's not enough water in here to get into the portage, so there's a whole bunch of problems. So we're going to go back along Bailey Lake and have a look at that again and go back out to Halfway. So the thing for me, as much as you want to kind of go ahead, this is a day trip in this particular effort. I don't have camping gear with me. Not only is this 800 meters impossible, but there's another one after that and another one after that before you get to the Benny portage, which is passable. So my guess is that people are going into Benny to fish, which is still 600 meters or whatever, but at least it's a decent portage. So that's the way it goes. It's too bad they don't keep it going here. This park's pretty good, but come in the back here, it really doesn't take that much effort, to hack this stuff up. If you have a chainsaw and a few guys, even once a year or every 2 years even, just to keep it alive. It would be nice if they did it. Yeah, that's a little deeper. But a little further up here, I'm not so sure. This is where the 11-inch paddle makes a difference, and you need to just make it happen. You can't really push on a kayak paddle between the aluminum pipe and the plastic paddle. You're going to break it. So it's a water pusher, where the big stick can do lots of things. And so I think staying to the right seemed to be a good idea on the way in. So or that side of the river anyway. What is now the right. So let's see if that's true. Seems to be for now. She was shallowing out all the way from that first point here. But it's not like there's a channel, it's just one big wide shallow area here. But that's okay. One thing though I want to say is, whether it's the bugs or the wind or difficult trail or whatever, that's a people thing. I mean, this out here is paradise. It's absolutely fantastic. And it presents to us all kinds of different things. So I find as I get older, I don't complain in the same way about the bugs or the hills or whatever. The last hike I did on Hawk Lake, that was a wonderful hike. I was kind of getting sore in the knees and stuff at the end, but that's not the fault of the trail. That's my fault, or my body's fault, or whatever you want to call it. And so I find it, you know, even the last few days we had here, we had lots of rain, and you know, you kind of want to get going with things, but that's your problem. That's not the fault of nature. Nature's just doing its thing, and so I just try to have a different attitude about it now, and I think that helps too when I'm retired and I'm not having to, you know, I've only got 4 days to do a trip or something, however way of car camping or out in the backcountry, whatever it is, doesn't matter. Then you want nature to cooperate because, you know, you've been slaving away and you want to go have fun, and then suddenly it's raining or whatever the calculus is. And so that's the thing that I find I'm more forgiving of now. It's just, I guess because I have more time or whatever, I don't know, at least I hope I do. But wow, this is beautiful here. Okay, so we'll just, I'll get you to ride. You can ride with me here when we get out of this little narrows, and then we'll shut her down until we get further along in on Bailey here. There's grass everywhere here, so who knows where the way out is. And I'm getting along okay. It aches a bit, you know, in this area of the shoulder, both sides the same, but somehow it doesn't get worse. You just kind of keep poking at it, and it's okay, you know. So I'm gonna go over here to the west and explore Bailey Lake a little bit more, and we'll see you in a little while. So this island is partly burned. You got to wonder how that happens, how part of it is devastated on the right, more or less, and then on the left, not so much. And even then, on the right over here, you've got trees that have clearly survived. So the whole concept of how it works is truly amazing to me. right up at it. Right here, right up through the whole portage on that side, eh? Pretty serious stuff. So, we're getting down to the end here today. I think it was a pretty good day. I wanted to go around. It wasn't possible. It's not my doing. It's just the way it is. So, I made the best of it. I had a nice look around Bailey Lake and came back through here. On the Halfway Lake, I got about 2.2 kilometers to go to the beach. Not even, I guess. Probably about 1.8. And then we'll pack it up. So over the day, I guess I have about 16 or 17K with the double paddle, which is almost 2.5 times my best before. So, and I don't feel any worse. I'm getting a little tired, but it's just interesting. Like, I'm here watching. I don't have to switch. I can enjoy the paddle better. So that's kind of nice. The boat stays dry. I'm making very similar speeds. What's not to like? Now it's going to get windy, so I'm going to turn this off and we'll see you at shore. So, as you have seen, the portage between Bailey and Lodge Lakes was regrettably impassable, and as such I followed my contingency plan and paddled back through Bailey Lake and halfway to the campground. I started at the north end of Halfway Lake, marked number 1 on the map, and then paddled to the Benny Lake portage, marked number 2, and inspected it. Then I paddled south to the Bailey Lake portage, marked 3, and on into Bailey Lake. I then shore paddled Bailey Lake until I found the portage to Lodge Lake impassable, marked at number 4. The effects of the 2007 forest fire that passed through the east side of Bailey across the portage into Halfway Lake and over the highway were remarkably evident, apparently due to a careless campfire.